Hey guys, what's up? It is November 18th, if you can believe it. South Carolina still hasn't got on board with the whole fall weather thing, although we might start seeing some of that coming in this weekend. I saw some lows in the high 30s predicted, and it's always just a little bit colder here, so I bet we're gonna get kind of close to freezing, which I'm actually ready for. I'm excited about it. I've got a bunch of stuff that I feel like I'm just waiting on the freeze to happen at this point. I do still have pepper plants that are out here trying to produce, and those will die, but it is time. And all the other stuff I've got in the garden, like the carrots and the lettuce, they are waiting for the cold to actually become tasty. I've said this before, but anybody who doesn't know, a lot of root vegetables and other like winter leafy crops that survive freezes, they get sweeter after a freeze because of the freeze. For leafy vegetables, it's because they concentrate sugars in their leaves, and that is the reason that they don't die to the freezing temperatures. And then for root vegetables, they do the same thing in their leaves, obviously, to protect them, but it also is what tells them that winter is coming and it's time to store a bunch of energy in that root, and so everything just gets a lot sweeter. You can see all the different little volunteer carrots so much better now that have come up. These are from when I was winnowing my seeds out here, and they just kind of landed here and started sprouting, which is crazy for carrots because they're so hard to get to sprout. And then, you know, they just do this to you. They just sprout with no help at all, and you're like, why do I even bother trying so hard? These are interplanted with dandelions, which obviously that's a weed, right? I didn't plant this here, but I'm also waiting on the cold for the dandelions because these greens are edible, and just like everything else, they will get a little bit sweeter once it's actually colder out. I feel like pretty much all of the zinnias at this point have kind of died back. We have had some cooler nights, and I think the initial barely frost that we had a few weeks ago kind of started them on this process. I recently also harvested the ginger that was in here. It was starting to die back a bit. You can see the leaves that I dropped down there. I didn't get nearly as much this year as I did last year, but I also didn't plant as much. And I think some of the stuff that I left in the ground to see if it'd sprout again over winter, I think that didn't end up happening, which is why I didn't have as much as I had originally anticipated. So that's a good lesson to learn. Other stuff we still got going on in this area, it really hasn't changed. We've got still all these sweet peppers, and it's so nice to see that, you know, we're actually having time for them to ripen, which really I didn't expect one bit. Every week that goes by and it stays warm, these plants get more and more confused. I mean, look at them. They are starting a whole new cycle of growth. That is a little baby flower in there that it's making. And even all the branches that I've ripped off accidentally, it's growing back more little leaves. So I don't think we'll actually have time for any of that to do anything. But all these little peppers, you know, I'll wait right before it looks like it's gonna frost. So that's like, yeah, maybe 5 days from now or so. And we will pull everything we can and then probably just be done with all of this. I've been kind of going back and forth about how much of this I actually want to clear out. In previous years, I would cut everything and take all the dead branches and stuff and throw it in the compost. I think I will do some of that. I definitely need to be able to get back here by the trellis and plant some of the garlic and onions and stuff that I want to have. And for that stuff, I'm probably not even going to take it all the way to the compost. I'll probably just drop it in place. Chop and drop is what they call it. And then for everything else that isn't necessarily in the way of something, I'll probably leave it up until I have to move it later, just because it is it's A, the easiest thing to do, and B, it is habitat for some of the beneficial insects that will help me out in the garden next year. And we'll see how much of a pain it is to work around that as time goes on, whether or not it is saving me effort or if it is actually just more annoying than it is worth anything. This is a perfect time of year for me to be out here harvesting my zinnia seeds. All of these like dark things like that right there, that's a zinnia seed. That's a zinnia seed. And I can take some of these inside, but the vast majority of them, I'm just going to plant them like that and see what comes up in the spring. I had a fair number of them plant themselves this spring, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm going to keep on letting them try and work it out themselves. And I kind of want to have plenty of little sprouts to choose from so that I can pull out the ones that are just super in the way and not feel so bad about it. Again, more hot peppers actually having the time to ripen. I had come through here when I thought that things were going to freeze, and then they just absolutely didn't, and pulled off a lot of peppers. And still we have the ones like this. This is almost ripe already. Buena Mulata is super fast, to be honest. I think I'll probably always grow this one because it's one of the fastest to get peppers off of that I've personally grown. I'm starting to really like looking at this little area back here. It's getting pretty colorful. In the path I've got some more little lettuce babies. That's Merlot lettuce, that dark red stuff. And then over here we have all of the random stuff that I just kind of sprinkled out here. We've got, it looks like 2 different types of spinach, lots of dill, lots of mustard, and more Merlot lettuce here. This is a light lettuce. We've got rutabagas here. This one's starting to look really good. Again, I'm waiting on the cold to come so that I can actually pull these and start trying them. They'll be probably no good until then. This rutabaga is very healthy. You can see it has a teeny patch of those aphids on it, but they're not taking over in the way that they are in that raised bed, if y'all remember. Y'all see it this week. It's absolutely horrendous looking. And I do attribute that to the health of the soil in this area. I've done a lot more work on the soil back here, and it's in the ground as opposed to a raised bed. And I think all of that does make a difference in the plant's ability to defend itself. Another good example is these cabbages over here. These are doing incredible. I did give them a treatment of organic rev finally, just to be safe. This one, the infected one, doesn't really seem to be super infected anymore. I don't see any more aphids on it. We'll see if it recovers. It's still looking a little puny out here compared to like this one, which it should be about this size by now. But luckily that's the only one that's really been affected. And honestly, the positive of this warmer but not like hot weather has been that these have gotten a chance to actually start filling out and get big before it is cold full time, which will be a big help in actually getting me a good harvest. I think it's specifically with the Brussels sprouts that'll be a big help. And because it has been warm for so long after being briefly cold, I think I'm seeing a lot of spring sprouts like this zinnia, and I've been seeing some like spring type flowers coming back out from the weeds around in here. Like the wild violets have started flowering a little bit again. And some of the like little weed seedlings that I'm seeing are very spring looking to me. This area in general, still the same as well. I've got aphids on my fava bean, broad bean. There's a couple of these in here. I still haven't come through and planted more. I should do that. I really should. There's so much to do in my life in general. Which reminds me, I was asked recently what sort of job I have to be able to afford the land and the house and spend so much time gardening. And I thought, for those of you who don't know, I actually don't own this house or this land. I am renting. My landlord is, not a company, it's just a dude, and it's a very good situation for me. I'm pretty lucky that mostly he just wants a tenant who cares about the place and will take care of it and will live here for a long time so he doesn't have to worry about it. And that's me. So he kind of lets me do what I want because he knows that what I'm doing is careful, and I'm not out here to destroy the property because I live here and I like it and I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon. And as for how much time I spend gardening, I think I'm constantly talking to you guys about how I don't have very much time to spend gardening, and a lot of things get away from me because I'm not out here as much as I could be. And so I talk about that to show you guys that, yeah, you can just, let stuff go, and you can still have a very beautiful, productive garden. And also, I think the lazy gardening method, if you start understanding how it works, can not just save you the time, but also be really good for the garden in general. I will also say the area I live in is rural South Carolina, right? Which is going to be one of the cheaper places you could rent a place like this. Definitely at least a good 30 to 45 minutes from anything substantial. Blue butterfly peas here are still flowering. I've actually gotten so many flowers off of them these past 2 weeks, and they're still trying to make pods because sometimes I forget to pull the flowers. But in general, I'm pulling flowers from these now. I'm also seeing more growth in these cute little volunteer broccolis, I believe is what they are. So those are doing good. Oh my goodness. Looking at this cucumber and how I harvested one last week from here just reminded me that I had a dream where I had so many cucumbers out here, and I was like, I had no idea. There's this little one here. Maybe I'll get that one. But that would be extremely lucky if that ended up happening. There's also some regular peas on this trellis that are doing, well enough. I wish I had 10 of these, but at least I have one. I found recently that I have one single radish over here. I can tell because it's red. And it's already kind of big and old, and I was just waiting to pull it because it's not going to be very good if it's not cold out, but it keeps getting bigger and it might get pithy anyway, so no matter what I do, it might not be very good. I'll still pull it and try once it gets cold, but stuff like this is the reason where I'm kind of antsy for it to actually get cold, because these crops growing in the warm are just kind of destroying themselves because I have to wait on them. Let's go ahead and walk through some of the raised bed garden. Over here, I think it was earlier today, I found this parsley growing out of the sidewalk. I definitely let my parsley go to seed over here, and I bet it dropped a lot, but it's really funny to me that the only seedling I'm seeing is just coming out of the crack of the sidewalk down here. Nothing in the raised bed where it would be actually very welcome. Calendula still putting on a massive number of blooms. It is loving this weather. This plant just keeps looking healthier and healthier. Ooh, and I think that might be calendula sprouts in there from one of the seed heads dropping seeds in there. I do think my onion chives might be fully dead. If I run my finger along down in here, there's no roots, no bulbs, nothing in here. I don't know why they would have just straight died, but they seem to have done just that. So that's a little upsetting. But thankfully I do still have some garlic chives around, and I know somebody who can give me some cuttings of their onion chive. Now carrots, if you look in here, this is I would love to pull this right now for you guys, but I'm going to wait until, again, it gets cold so that we can have some nice, sweet, lovely carrots. A little check-in in this area. I'm seeing not a ton of growth. Definitely the radishes are trying their best. The menace called Kata, my black cat. She has been digging in here, and there's not just a whole lot I can do about that. Eventually she'll get bored of it, but in the meantime, it's not so great for the plants, and I'm afraid to spread that soil back out because I bet that there is some cat poop hidden under there. So we'll leave it, and we'll just hope for the best for everything that isn't getting disturbed. I did put a bunch of spinach seeds in here, and I'm just really shocked to see 0 of them sprout. I wonder if they were just getting too old, something like that, but literally none of them have sprouted. So I'm kind of disappointed in that. I've kind of struggled with spinach these past few years. I don't generally get a ton of it to come up. And some of these kales over here, like this little guy hasn't gotten any bigger since I planted it. This one looks almost smaller than it did. A couple of these, like this one looks like it's maybe starting to recover. This one looks all right. But in general, this raised bed is only doing okay. And of course, the raised bed that's doing terribly, you can see, I think it looks even worse this week. A lot more dead leaves. I have been treating it with organic rev a little bit, but apparently this is too far gone. Not even organic rev can save it now. These plants are so unhappy. Like I was saying, I think that's the soil in here is not as good as it could be. And between that and just the weird temperatures, these plants in particular have kind of suffered. Them being above ground, they're not as protected from fluctuations in temperature by the thermal heat mass of the ground itself. So they're going to be experiencing a little bit worse than everything over there in the ground. That, I don't know what that is. We do have carrots though, and I think some of these will actually do okay. Oh, there's one of my dwarf peas hiding under there, barely surviving. There are a couple of cilantros in here, but they haven't gotten very big yet. I don't really expect them to. Yeah, look at all those aphids. Terrible, terrible. I'm still getting raspberries though. Very happy about that. There's one coming in. Here's one that has like only 4 little things on it. You can see all the little baby ones. They're that pale color, pale green. Like the raspberry is doing great in this weather. It doesn't seem to be perturbed by the weird temperature fluctuations one bit, as is the rosemary. Nothing phases the rosemary. The rosemary is perpetually just fine, just doing great. And we could come over here. We'll check again on our little kumquat. Oh, that looks like maybe slightly bigger, fatter. I don't know. You guys tell me. I think it looks about the same. I wonder when it's actually going to start growing, if it is at all. The plant in general looks pretty healthy. It was munched on a little bit, but we've got some deep green in the leaves, especially the newer leaves, which is the most important thing to look at. So I don't see any indication that this wouldn't be a healthy plant. It is just small and probably struggling to fruit with its small little size. I picked up a bunch of free mulch the other day. I need to start spreading this around in the garden. I've been delaying because I don't want to just suffocate all those cute little path plants I showed you. But I think a lot of this is going to go around the berries, and specifically the new citrus and figs. And then I also over here got a bunch of straw, and that is also going to go around. I probably going to do straw on top of the wood mulch around the citrus as like extra layers of protection, and probably do more straw like on top of the rows in this garden, and then do the wood mulch in the paths eventually at some point. I'm not real sure what my plan is, but you'll see it when it happens. And I also have this huge collection of logs that I helped cut down that were in somebody's yard from the hurricane. And these are going to be shiitake and chestnut mushroom logs very soon. Before I go, I do want to say I am taking next week off from the garden tour for Thanksgiving, just to give myself some breathing room around the holidays and not have to worry about crunching in all the work before I go see my family. And then I will resume with garden tours the week after that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you then. Happy gardening.